Hi, this is vlog discussion number 5. This week we covered another 3 readings, so let's get right into them. We started with Creating a Myth by Linda Seeger. Seeger explains that most stories we watch, the ones that we love the most, are mostly the same. They follow the same story arcs and the same plot lines that we humans face in real life. And when it boils down, these stories are very, very similar to each other. She explains that a myth story is a story that is more than true. One of these stories that, instead of being a single story that happened to a single person based on fact, it's a story that has probably happened in some way or another to so many people in the world that it's super relatable, but it's not actually based on anyone's single story. It's just based on a general experience that everybody has. She goes into a specific way that a hero myth is made, going over all the parts of it, and ultimately explaining that the hero myth depicts a hero, someone who comes from humble beginnings, entering a journey where they must overcome trials and tribulations before reaching the peak conflict that they must not only defeat something but also usually solve a personal conflict, and then it ends. It's a predictable story that many people will read and relate to, even if the exact story doesn't match them, just because they face some kind of similar struggle. But it is also a really popular story for those same reasons. Next, we get into the 7 Steps to a Perfect Story, which was kind of less of a reading and more of a visual learning sort of thing. The steps were understanding your story, choosing your plot, choosing your hero. Every story needs a hero. Choosing your characters, observing the rules of 3s. This is in regards to character numbers. Choosing your media, and then observing the golden rule, which was don't give the audience 4, give them 2 plus 2. Though there is lack of analysis and explanation in this particular reading as we're reading through these steps, there's a lot of information in this segment. The biggest point I gather from this writing is the fact that a simple 7 steps can really map out a good novel, movie, or story of any kind. And if you begin to look at books and movies that we love, you can really tell that they follow these rules closely. Take Harry Potter, okay? Our author, J.K. Rowling, understands her story and has all the details figured out and leaves nothing to question. There's not one detail that isn't covered and tied so that there's no confusion in the story. So she understands her story really well. She has a strong and consistent plot that is followed throughout the whole story regarding Harry's battle with Voldemort. She has your hero, Harry, who fits all the distinctions of what a good hero is. She has established characters and follows the rules of 3. Can anyone name a stronger threesome than Ron, Hermione, and Harry? And she has a media of books. And lastly, she does follow that same golden rule. Lastly, we read The Asian Renovation, a biracial buddy action by Philippa Gates. Gates explains that the buddy cop films of the 1980s and 90s showed relationships between 2 heroes who butt heads but ultimately come together. And they only furthered that idea when they began pitting different types of people against each other, such as 2 people of a different race, someone who's white versus someone who's black. Basically, Gates explains the history of these cop movies and how race played into them and how African American characters slowly entered more of the spotlight, but never really were allowed to grow into their own roles as the characters, but more of a shell of what once was a white character and is now being played by a black actor. Gates began talking about these movies, about the movie industry in Hong Kong and how during the crisis in Hong Kong, the movement to Hollywood came, and with that, it changed buddy movies and added a new level of diversity to them. She goes over the countless combinations of Asian characters with other raced buddies and how they have differed from their other pairings. Alright, well, that's it for the vlog this week. Thank you.